Good morning. Today we are reviewing Unit 8 on our graphs and data analysis. We are starting with PO60. It is a PO. It is important to know. We have worked with mean, median, and mode before. We need to be able to use the mean, median, and mode. So on your help sheet, you're going to want to write the definition of mean, median, and mode as it is in your binder, and how you find it. You're going to want to write the definition of the median and how you find it. Remembering that mean is adding all of the numbers together, dividing by how many numbers you have. The median is the middle. So you have to put them in order. So put that on your help sheet. I need to put the numbers in order to find what number is in the middle. What do you need, Ava?
Are you gonna keep that up on this or no?
Yep.
Like it's exam?
Yep. Should you still put it on your help sheet?
Yes.
Yep. So why do we put stuff on help sheets of things that we already know, Liam?
In case we forget.
Because when it comes time for the test, that's when we make our simple mistakes and we go, I thought I knew this. I didn't put it on here. Oh gosh, what do I do again? And we start to get anxious and we forget. I'm not gonna, it's your guys' help sheet. I'm not gonna go around and say, did you put everything on that you were supposed to? But I am gonna say, did you pass that objective? What is the main goal? To have mastered the material and pass your objectives, right? So you can be very confident in your abilities, and that's fine. Me personally, I still write everything down as a just in case, because I know how easy it is to forget something, how sometimes when we get anxious, we do things incorrectly. We could forget if there's two numbers as a median, what do I do? What do you do if there's two numbers as a median, Lilia? If you have two medians, two numbers in the middle, you add them together and divide by 2. You can put that on your help sheet. Because when it comes time for the test, people will go, oh, I don't know how to do this. I forgot. Happens all the time. You can only have one mean. You can only have one median. But the mode, which means most, you can have more than one mode. If you have two numbers that both appeared 3 times, you can have 2 modes. You can have no mode. If they're all only there 1 time each, you can have no mode. Let's look at our next objective. And you know what? I am going to cover it up. A lot of people are saying, oh, I'm totally confident. So I am covering up my math board tomorrow and Wednesday, just so we know. Okay. CO61. I can interpret and create bar graphs and line graphs. So for CO61, you're going to want to write bar graph. You're going to want to write how many or quantity is what we use a bar graph for. You're going to remember that if you have to write a graph that you need labels on your X and Y axis. Bar graphs we've worked with before. There's just key things we want to make sure that we remember. Like using bar graphs to find the quantity of something and being able to read the bar graphs. Yes?
If you don't, but what do you do again if you, in the median, how do you find, like, if there's 2 numbers?
Who can help Madison out? For the median, what do you do if there's 2 numbers in the middle? You just answered your own question, Madison. Yes, you add the 2 together and divide by 2. Good question to ask, and I'm glad you were able to find your answer. For CO61, we also have the line graph. So remember, the line graph finds the value of something. Connor.
So when we like go to or when we make one of these,
Mhm.
if it's not exactly the points off.
As long as it's close, just like with the protractor, as long as it looks close. If you're making a line graph and there are two of something and your dot is way up here, that's nowhere near the two. So it has to be look close and appropriate. So for the bar graph and the line graph, just like with the mean, median, and mode, you've used them before, you know how to read them. There's just those key things we needed to know about them. Like when we use it, what does it focus on? But now, we're coming into new graphs. So CO62, that's stem and leaf plot. So I would write it on your help guide, CO62 stem and leaf plot, so you remember which graph we're talking about. Because when we're talking about so many different graphs, label each objective for the graph that goes with it. Stem and leaf plots are for putting our data in order. What do we need to remember about our stem versus our leaves? What are the stems? Melanie? Yeah. Yes. So on my help sheet, I would put a line like this, and I would say stems are the first number, and I would say the leaves are the rest of the numbers. So remember, when we look at our leaves, that 7 is not a 7. What does that 7 represent? Layla? Yes, because that stem we have to put in front of it. So that 7 is a 37. So if I'm asked to find my mode, I'm not going to call this a 7. I'm going to call it a 37. So under this, I'm going to put a little star and say, put the stem with every leaf. So I know what each number is. So I'm going to go and I'm going to put a 1 in front of the 5 and the 9. I'm going to put a 2 in front of each of these. So I know what each number stands for. So that should be your first step. Put the stem in front of the leaf is the first step to do. Does that make sense? Put the stem in front of every leaf, so you know what each of these numbers are. Too many of us in the homework said, oh, look at all those 5s, that's my mode. No, it wasn't, because those aren't 5s. That's 45, that's 35, that's 15. So you need to know what the stem and the leaf represent. You need to put them together to work with your data. Does that make sense? Okay, so your first step is to put the stem with the leaf, every leaf, so you know which numbers you're working on. CO63, box and whisker plots. How many equal sections are there? 4. So our box and whisker plots, remember we used to find the range and the median. That median really helps us. What line tells us what the median of all of our data points are?
times has the medians,
Yes.
and the other one.
Yeah, that line in the middle of the box is always your median. Then the lower quartile and upper quartile, and that tells us our 4 sections. Key thing to know, each section has the same number of data points. Connor.
Would it be cheating if we put like one of the boxes and then like labeled what they were? Like if we labeled them with a square.
It would not be cheating if you put a box and put labels on it. It would be cheating if you put numbers to go with it and said, oh, the lower quartile is this number. So that would be an example. If you, let me show you what I mean. If you put this and you put lower quartile and you put median and you put upper quartile and you numbered it so you knew your 4 sections, that's not cheating. Okay. If you put numbers associated with it and said the lower quartile is 13 and the upper quartile is 23, that would be putting an example, and we can't do examples.
On farms, like you have, and it gives you like numbers, and then you have to like figure out which ones that goes each down. I don't know how to find the lower quartile and the upper quartile out of like the different numbers.
So if we have, let's see, on here, did we have an example with a bunch of numbers? Yes. So here, let me go to this one, because we have all these numbers listed. How many numbers are going to be in each section? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 numbers. How do I know how many of those numbers go in each of my sections? I had 12. 4 is that magic number. I know 3 of those numbers are going to be in each section. So if I put my numbers in order, I know, let's pretend these are in order. They're not, but your first step, Marina, is to put your numbers in order. And you would say the first 3, these first 3 numbers are going to be that whisker out there. My next 3 numbers are going to be that first part of the box. And then my next 3 numbers are going to be that last part. And then I have that last whisker. So I know 3 numbers per section. And then to find the upper and lower quartiles in that median, you have to look at what 2 numbers there are and what comes in between them. That would be the lower quartile, the median, and the upper. So think about how you find a median and find the median of all the numbers, and then find the median of the bottom half and the median of the top half.
Oh, okay.
So remember, if you're given 12 numbers, 3 in each section because it's equally divided up. Any other questions about the box and whisker? So you need to know the 5 number summary. You need to know the minimum, how to find the minimum at the far left, how to find the maximum at the far right, how to find that lower quartile, the median, and the upper quartile. So you need to know how to do that. Next objective, CO64. I can interpret and create histograms. So what is a histogram used for? To show frequency or how often something happens. So you should be putting that on your help sheet. You should be putting what makes a histogram a histogram. So remember, we said it measures frequency. The bars are touching. The X values cannot be reordered. The bars must be the same width. And I would even add to it, the X-axis has intervals. Remember that bottom part, these were intervals. How many, from here to here? So distribution of property sales in January, you had or not in January, distribution of property sales, how many fell into this interval, how many fell in this interval, how many fell into this interval. Looking at test scores, how many people scored in the 50s, how many people scored in the 60s. Remember, it's that range. So those intervals means that it's kind of a range of numbers. That's why they have to be in order. So on those test scores, we know these are the people that scored in the 40s. These are the people that scored in the 50s. These are the people that scored in the 60s. So you have to look at that whole bar. That's from 40 to 50, 50 to 60. Any questions on the histogram? How are we feeling about the histogram? Feeling good about the intervals? All right, so now we have circle graphs. Circle graphs, CO65, percentages. What key thing do we have to put under the circle graph working with percentages? Ava? Part equals percent times the whole. You will use that equation. Fill in what you know. Do I know the part? Do I know the percent? Do I know the whole? If you have a circle graph, you're going to have percents listed on it because it's out of 100%. We don't know how many people were surveyed. Sometimes that's what you have to find. Sometimes that's given in the question. But just looking at a circle graph does not tell us how many people were surveyed. It might be part of the information you're given. It might be what you need to find. So in your equation, you're going to put the pieces that you know, and then you're going to do the math to find what you don't know. If you're looking for the part, all you have to do is multiply the percent and the whole. If you're looking for the whole, that's when we do the opposite operation to divide. Remember that how to convert from percent to decimal. We learned that a long time ago. We're using our previous knowledge to help us with this math. Any questions on the circle graph? All right, so is that all that's going to be on the test?
No.
What else is going to be on the test? The review. So remember, whenever you want to know what the review is going to be, we go to the very front of our book. This is Unit 8. Oh, Mr. Schultz didn't put it on here, what objectives we need to review. So we're going to see if that is on our practice test tomorrow. Usually he has them listed. Let me do a quick peek. Unit 8. All right, so for our practice test, you need to know, so you're going to want to look at PO 47, PO 50. PO 55. Of course, we had to put PO 55 on there. Oops. And PO 59. Those are the 4 POs that we need to know for our test. So you should write that down so you can go back and look at 47, 50, 55, and 59. Because we know there's going to be one question from each of those. So don't just say, oh yeah, I passed everything, I've got it. Always refresh your memory. What was it? Because how many of us forgot to work with how to work with percentages? Just because you passed it in the past doesn't mean we always remember it. So 47 and 50, look at this. Binder number 3 starts with 51. 47 and 50 are in your binder 2. So you're going to want to go back to binder number 2 to look at 47 and 50. 55 and 59 are here. 55, solve for an unknown angle in a triangle or quadrilateral. How many angles are in a triangle? How many degrees? Sorry.
90.
Nope, not 90 degrees. That is a right angle. That is not a triangle.
180.
180 degrees in a triangle. How many degrees in a quadrilateral? 360. In order to know that, you need to remember what the different things mean in a triangle and quadrilateral. If I have this, what does that box tell me? How many degrees is that? 90 degrees. So if I'm given that this is 45 degrees, how many is my unknown angle? How many degrees? How did you know that, Madeline? So, to put it simply, we take that 180 degrees, we minus our 90, we minus the 45, and we're left with 45 degrees left. Okay. Let's look at PO 59. I can find the missing sides of similar polygons. So if I know this is 20, this is 10, this is 5, I don't know. I can't use those numbers. That makes sense. Let's say this is 20, this is 30, and this is 15. How do I find my missing sides? What math do I do? Try to fit it on one if you can. How do I solve for my missing side? Who remembers?
Oh, it's this.
Oh, short one.
If we have A and B, I have to look this side. I'm going to put my A on top, corresponds with this side. So if I put A on top here, right, Claire? Remember, if I put A on top here, I have to put A on top here. And then B is on bottom. So if A is on top, it stays on top for my second one. And then we cross multiply and divide by our leftover number. A lot of us had to retake this on the last test. Marina, stop talking. A lot of us had to retake this on the last test. Make sure you know what you're doing. On your help sheet, you cannot put the example, but you can put something like this, right? Our question mark is here and you divide by that number. Remember to set it up. You're multiplying and then cross multiplying and then dividing. You're gonna have to look up PO 47 and PO 50 yourself because I do not have time to go over it in class. So you need to look in your binder too for those two objectives to know what they are about. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.